Muammar al Qaddafi, the rise and fall of Libyan dictator. Muammar al Qaddafi, born in 1942 near Sirte, Libya, died October 20, 2011 in Sirte, de facto leader of Libya 1969 to 2011. When a rebellion overthrew Gaddafi in August 2011, he had reigned for more than 40 years. He was slain by rebel fighters in October 2011 after avoiding capture for several weeks. Rise to power, policies, and the Green Book. Gaddafi was born in a tent in the Libyan desert as the son of an itinerant Bedouin farmer. He had academic prowess and earned his degree from the University of Libya in 1963. As a passionate Arab nationalist and devout Muslim, Gaddafi set out early on to arrange the overthrow of King Idris I of Libya. He graduated from the Libyan Military College in 1965 and promoted quickly through the ranks while planning a coup with the support of his fellow army commanders. On September 1, 1969, Gaddafi took control of the government in a military coup that overthrew King Idris. As head of Libya's new government, the Revolutionary Command Council, Gaddafi was appointed commander-in-chief of the armed forces. In 1970, Gaddafi ordered the removal of US and British military bases from Libya. In the same year, he expelled the most of the local Italian and Jewish communities out of Libya, and in 1973, he nationalized all foreign-owned petroleum assets there. According to his own strict Islamic principles, he forbade the consumption of alcohol and gambling. In addition, Gaddafi started a series of aggressive but unsuccessful attempts to unite Libya with other Arab nations. He was fiercely opposed to negotiations with Israel, and he rose to fame in the Arab world as a key voice in the Arab world against the Egyptian-Israeli peace process. His regime was linked to a series of unsuccessful coup attempts in Egypt and Sudan, and Libyan forces continued in interfering in the prolonged civil war in the neighboring country of Chad, earning him a reputation for military adventurism. As described in the Green Book, Gaddafi began promoting an Islamic socialist ideology in 1974. This combined nationalization of numerous economic sectors with a populist administration nominally run by people's congresses, labor unions, and other mass organizations. Innovations along these lines continued to be implemented, including a government system known as Jamhuriya in 1977, a neologism implying a popular decentralized confederation. Gaddafi relinquished nominal control of Libya's government in 1979, but despite claims of merely guiding a revolutionary form of populist democracy, the levers of power remained permanently in his hands. The Lockerbie bombing, international relations, and sanctions. Meanwhile, Gaddafi was becoming known on the international stage for his erratic and unpredictable behavior. His government provided funding to a wide range of organizations around the world that had their own revolutionary goals, such as the Irish Republican Army in Northern Ireland, the Black Panthers in the United States, and the Nation of Islam. Libyan spies assassinated migrant opponents abroad, and his government was allegedly involved in several bloody terrorist attacks in Europe carried out by Palestinian or other Arab fanatics. These acts drew him into increasing conflict with the U.S. government, and in April 1986, a squadron of U.S. jets based in the United Kingdom bombed several sites in Libya, killing or injuring several of his children and narrowly missing Gaddafi himself. Libya's alleged involvement in the 1988 bombing of a passenger airplane over Lockerbie, Scotland, resulted in UN and US sanctions that further alienated Gaddafi from the international community. However, in the late 1990s, Gaddafi handed over the accused perpetrators of the bombing to international authorities. Following Gaddafi's announcement that Libya would end its unconventional weapons program, the United States withdrew most of the sanctions against Libya in 2003. Although some observers remain skeptical, these actions provided an opportunity for Gaddafi's image to be rehabilitated abroad and allowed his country's gradual return to the global community. Gaddafi was chosen chairman of the African Union (AU) in February 2009, and later that year he delivered his first speech before the United Nations General Assembly. The lengthy critical speech, in which he threw a copy of the UN Charter, sparked great controversy among international leaders. Early in 2010, several other African nations opposed Gaddafi's bid to continue serving as the AU's chairman beyond the regular one-year term, and his request was later rejected. 2011, Libyan Revolution. After anti-government demonstrations removed Tunisian and Egyptian presidents Zayn al-Abidine Ben Ali and Hosni Mubarak, anti-Gaddafi riots erupted in the Libyan city of Benghazi in February 2011. The Gaddafi regime attempted to forcibly put an end to the protests as they spread throughout the nation by ordering live ammunition to be fired at protesters by police and mercenary forces, as well as attacks by artillery, fighter jets, and helicopter gunships. Foreign officials and international human rights organizations condemned the regime's assault on the protesters. Gaddafi's brutal actions also alienated top Libyan government members. The Justice Minister of Libya resigned in protest, while several top Libyan diplomats either resigned or showed support for the uprising. On February 22, Gaddafi gave a long, defiant speech on state television in which he refused to step down and referred to the protesters as traitors and saboteurs. He claimed that the demonstrators had taken hallucinogenic drugs and that Al Qaeda had planned the uprising. He urged his supporters to stand up for him by fighting the protesters. Gaddafi's hold on power appeared to be fading as rebel forces grew stronger. By the end of February, rebel troops had taken over large areas of Libyan territory and had surrounded Tripoli, where Gaddafi still held power but was increasingly isolated. In interviews with Western media on February 28, Gaddafi claimed that he was still beloved by the Libyan people and denied accusations that the government had used violence against the protesters. He repeated his claim that Al Qaeda was behind the rebellion in Libya. As the opposition grew stronger, international pressure mounted on Gaddafi to resign. The UN Security Council unanimously approved a resolution on February 26 that included sanctions against the Gaddafi government, including a travel ban, an arms embargo, and the freezing of the Gaddafi family's assets. The United States announced on February 28 that it has blocked $30 billion in Gaddafi-related assets in Libya. Despite growing worldwide criticism to Gaddafi's actions, his forces appeared to retake control of Libya, retaking many of the areas that the rebels had earlier conquered. The UN Security Council decided on March 17 to approve military intervention to safeguard civilians as Gaddafi's soldiers advanced closer to Benghazi. The succeeding air campaign, led by NATO, caused significant damage on pro-Gaddafi forces, but did not tip the balance decisively in favor of the rebels, resulting in an apparent stalemate between both sides. Two senior Libyan officials, Moussa Koussa and Ali Abdesalam el-Treki, both members of Gaddafi's inner circle, defected in late March, shaking up the Gaddafi administration. Despite those losses, Gaddafi continued to maintain his authority in Tripoli and made it known that he would resist any attempt to do so. Despite the NATO air assault, forces supporting Gaddafi kept fighting. On April 30, a NATO airstrike in Tripoli killed Gaddafi's youngest son, Saif el-Arab, and 3 of Gaddafi's grandchildren. According to reports, Gaddafi was inside the house that was attacked at the time and managed to escape unharmed. After the airstrike, NATO denied allegations that it had launched a plan to assassinate Gaddafi. Early in March, the International Criminal Court (ICC) announced it will begin looking into possible crimes against humanity committed by Gaddafi and his supporters. The ICC requested that arrest warrants for crimes against humanity be issued against Gaddafi, his son Saif el-Islam, and the head of Libya's intelligence agency, Abdullah Senussi, on May 16 for ordering attacks on civilians during the revolt. The arrest warrants were eventually granted on June 27. In August 2011, rebel forces seized Tripoli and took control of most of the city, threatening Gaddafi's grasp on power. On August 23, rebel fighters won an important symbolic victory when they took the Bab el-Azia compound, Gaddafi's headquarters in Tripoli. The property was ransacked by jubilant protesters, who destroyed symbols of the Gaddafi regime. Though he released many audio messages urging the Libyan people to rebel against the rebels, Gaddafi's whereabouts remained unknown. As the rebels strengthened their control on Tripoli, they made their decision to capture Gaddafi, offering a $1.7 million prize for his death or capture. On October 20, as rebels seized control of Sirte, one of the last strongholds of the regime, Gaddafi was executed. Thanks for watching.